Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So we are doing a memorization verse, 9:14. So let's go to that. Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantas chadridavrata niyayukta upasate. Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantas chadridavrata namasyantas chamam bhaktya nityayukta upasate. And there's a nice little melody for this. Always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before me, these great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. Okay, let's do it again. Always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before me, these great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. Okay, so now we're going to where we left off yesterday, which is Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, text 4 to 5. And we'll just read that translation again. This is where Krishna is talking about how everything comes from him. Intelligence, knowledge, freedom from doubt and delusion, forgiveness, truthfulness, control of the senses, control of the mind, happiness and distress, birth, death, fear, fearlessness, nonviolence, equanimity, satisfaction, austerity, charity, fame, and infamy. All these various qualities of living beings are created by me alone, Krishna says. So we started reading the purport and we got up to the third paragraph where it starts control of the senses. You want to read, Pragati?
Control of the senses means that the senses should not be used for unnecessary personal enjoyment. There is no prohibition against meeting the proper needs of the senses, but unnecessary sense enjoyment is detrimental for spiritual advancement. Therefore, the senses should be restrained from unnecessary use. Similarly, one should restrain the mind from unnecessary thoughts. That is called shama. Shama. One should not spend one's time pondering over earning money. That is a misuse of the thinking power. The mind should be used to understand the time necessity of human beings, and that should be presented authoritatively. The power of thought should be developed in association with persons who are authorities in the scriptures, saintly persons and spiritual masters, and those whose thinking is highly developed. Sukham, pleasure or happiness, should always be in that which is favorable for the cultivation of the spiritual knowledge of Krishna consciousness. And similarly, that which is painful or which causes distress is that which is unfavorable for the cultivation of Krishna consciousness. Anything favorable for the development of Krishna consciousness should be accepted, and anything unfavorable should be rejected.
Just pause there for a second. So, yeah, this is very interesting. So we're talking about control of the senses and control of the mind. And yeah, Krishna is saying that it's not that we shouldn't use our senses, that we can't, to say, fulfill the desires of the senses, but not unnecessarily, right? We should provide the senses with what they need to be, healthy and strong and, minimally satisfied, but just not be extravagant and excessive in sense gratification. And in the same way with controlling the mind, it doesn't mean that we stop thinking, but that we restrain the mind from unnecessary thoughts. So, yeah, just basically engaging or satisfying or fulfilling the demands of the body in a minimal way, right? Without being excessive. So, yeah, providing the physical body with what it needs to be healthy and strong and not driving us nuts, right? Like if you're if you're not eating enough, then you're going to be weak and you're going to be hungry and you're going to be disturbed, right? So give the body food, give it nice prasadam so that it gets purified in the process, and also it doesn't bother you so much. And same way, like with the mind, if we're mind is disturbed, and let's say we're very emotionally disturbed, so yeah, we can take a little bit of time to maybe, let's say if we just had an argument with someone and that's why we're disturbed, you have to take time out, go to that person, if necessary, get a mediator or something, but deal with the problem and try to smooth out these relational disturbances so that we can be basically peaceful and do our service nicely. So yeah. And Prabhupada says that particularly the power of thought should be developed in the association of guru, sadhus, and shastra, right? Specifically says that. It says, in association with persons who are authorities in the scriptures, saintly persons, and spiritual masters. So we should think according to guru, sadhu, and shastra. And because otherwise the mind is going all over the place. But we're lucky that we have, especially in Krishna consciousness, in this Vedic tradition, Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition, we have so many nice books, right? We have like not just one scripture, but we have Bhagavad Gita, we have 18 volumes of Srimad Bhagavatam, 12 cantos, we have the whole Chaitanya Charitamrita, plus Brihad Bhagavatamrita, and Mahabharata and Ramayana, and we have so much food for thought. So we should just feed our minds this spiritual nourishment of the Bhakti Shastras, basically. Yeah. And then we'll be satisfied. Mind will be very happy. And then the next thing that Krishna goes into is happiness. He talks about happiness and distress, and that it says happiness comes from doing things that are favorable for spiritual knowledge, basically. Yeah. Doing things that are favorable for Krishna consciousness make us happy. And doing things that are unfavorable for Krishna consciousness make us distressed. So that's like very clear, right? We know if we want to be happy, we have to be Krishna conscious, or at least endeavor for Krishna consciousness and stay away from anything that's opposed to it. Okay, then we're going on to bhava, or birth. Go ahead.
Bhava, birth should be understood to refer to the body. As far as the soul is concerned, there is neither birth nor death. That we have discussed in the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita. Birth and death apply to one's embodiment in the material world. Fear is due to worrying about the future. A person in Krishna consciousness has no fear because by his activities he is sure to go back to the spiritual sky, back home, back to Godhead. Therefore, his future is very bright. Others, however, do not know what their future holds. They have no knowledge of what the next life holds. So they are therefore in constant anxiety. If we want to get free from anxiety, then the best course is to understand Krishna and be situated always in Krishna consciousness. In that way, we will be free from all fear. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, chapter 237, it is stated, Bhayam dvitiya viniveshata syat. Fear is caused by our absorption in the illusory energy. But those who are free from the illusory energy, those who are confident that they are not the material body and they are spiritual parts of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and who are therefore engaged in the transcendental service of the Supreme Godhead, have nothing to fear. Their future is very bright. This fear is a condition of persons who are not in Krishna consciousness. Abhayam, fearlessness, is possible only for one in Krishna consciousness.
Birth, fear, and fearlessness. And so he says a devotee doesn't have to worry about birth or fear. So yeah, it's not only death that's fearful, the materialist, but birth is even worse. Birth is worse than death. Or having to take birth again is even a more scary topic than dying, because at least somebody might think, oh yeah, my life is not very happy and this body gives me so much trouble and all these people are against me and the world is getting worse and worse. It's almost like welcome, like in this day and age, the thought of death is like almost like, yeah, you know what? It's about time to end this show. But then the scary thing is that, oh, but if after death I need to take birth again and go through this all over again, be born as a little baby that doesn't know anything, that can't speak, that can't even, control its passing of stool and urine, and has to go through teething and learning how to walk again and learning the alphabet and going to school and struggling, taking exams and being disciplined, and then, getting to adolescence and all the competition and struggle for, education and jobs and marriage and work, and oh my God. And then all the illnesses that come, all the times you're going to hurt yourself, all the times you're going to be in danger, and all the ways that people are going to humiliate you and dishonor you and stuff. And it's like, are we going to go through that again? And then you don't know what kind of body you're going to be in, right? You don't even know if you're going to have a human form of life. You don't know if you're going to be male or female. You don't know if you're going to be rich or poor, if you're going to be born in a, war-torn country or a peaceful place. You just don't know. Anything can happen. So for non-devotees, it's a cause of a lot of anxiety if you actually know the nature of of this world and the cycle of repeated birth and death. But Prabhupada says twice that devotees don't have to worry. For devotees, there's no fear because their future is very bright. He says that twice. He says their future is very bright because they know that either they're going back to Godhead, or at least if they have to take birth again in this material world, they're going to take birth in a family of devotees and be raised in Krishna consciousness. And yes, it's still that you're gonna, you're still gonna have to deal with birth, death, old age, and disease, but you're going to be equipped from the beginning with the knowledge and the techniques to be able to transcend the miseries of human life, because you've started the path already, and it's just a matter of time, short time before we go back to Godhead. So
the baby in a devotee family, does he also suffers even if like people are chanting around him?
I mean, everybody suffers unless he's a Mahabhagavat like Prahlad, right? Like, Prahlad Maharaj, he was a small boy, and his father was torturing him in so many ways, but he wasn't suffering because he was totally on the transcendental platform and he knew he wasn't his body. Yeah, that's what Prabhupada says here, that those who are free from the illusory energy, those who are confident that they are not the material body, that they are spiritual parts of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and who therefore engage in transcendental service to the Supreme Godhead, have nothing to fear. So that's the thing. We suffer to the extent that we identify with this body, to that extent we suffer the pains and pleasures of this body. But to the extent that we're like, yeah, I'm not this body, I'm a spirit soul, my nature is Sat Chit Ananda, eternity, knowledge, and bliss. Nobody can actually hurt me, because we heard in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita in chapter 2, those verses from 2:11 to 2:30, talking about the characteristics of the soul, that the soul cannot be cut into pieces by any weapon. It can't be burnt by fire or withered by the wind or drowned by water or even moistened by water. It can't be injured by any, by any kind of, emotional or psychological abuse or torture or anything like that. Yeah, the soul is completely aloof. There's nothing to do with anything material, either gross or subtle. So if somebody's really fixed in knowledge that I am a soul, then, they're not bothered by these things. We see the example of Prahlad. Also, Srila Prabhupada, when he was at the end of his time here, during his earthly appearance on this planet, his body was racked with a ailment that caused, it was something very painful. But you never saw Srila Prabhupada like, crying out in pain or asking for painkillers or anything. And the doctors were just like, how is it possible? Like anybody would be screaming with pain and asking for like morphine and things to kill the pain in his condition. And he's just sitting there very peacefully and translating Srimad Bhagavatam from Sanskrit to English, and speaking to his disciples, and not just doing that, but being so present, and even reciprocating with each and every disciple in a perfect, beautiful, loving exchange, exactly according to the nature of that disciple and sensitive to what that disciple needs and all that. Srila Prabhupada was so alert and so, together, undisturbed, totally undisturbed by the pain that his body was in. So, yeah. When, oh, when will that day be ours, right? When we're totally off the bodily concept of life. But that's what we have to look forward to, if we really take this process very seriously. We keep practicing Krishna consciousness, the more we take it very seriously and serving, chanting attentively, then we get this realization.
Is there any way how we should think to get detached from this body, or we should simply is there any process how we should think, or should be
yeah, just the general processes of bhakti, especially the 5 potent processes, because nectar devotion gives like 64 limbs, but then Rupa Goswami says there are 5 that are very potent. So that's chanting the holy names, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, worshiping the deity, associating with devotees, and then going to the holy dham, living in the holy dham, like especially Vrindavan Dham mentions. So if not living there, but at least visiting or living in, Srila Prabhupada created holy dhams all over the world, living in an ISKCON community of devotees. So yeah, by being really molding our life, molding our lifestyle and our very life around those 5 pillars, those 5, what's called a Panchangam Bhakti, 5 potent limbs of devotional service. Then we can make a lot of spiritual advancement. But at the same time, we can also pray, Krishna, please help me to get off this bodily concept of life. Please help me to stop identifying with my body, or help me to understand who I actually am as a soul. Because beyond just being a soul, we also have a spiritual personality, right? That's different from our conditioned personality. So yeah, we all have an eternal relationship with Krishna. We have a spiritual form, spiritual qualities that are our unique spiritual personality, but it's just covered, so we don't know what it is. So we're like dreaming. It's like a person in a dream world thinking that there is someone else, and going through all these experiences and totally identifying with those experiences. This is really happening to me. I'm really feeling this. I'm really seeing that. I'm really doing this. And then you wake up and you're like, actually, that wasn't me, and I wasn't doing anything. I was just lying in my bed the whole time, and this is who I really am, right? And now I'm going to actually do my real life. So one day, when our conditioning is totally removed and our identity is reawakened, then it's like we'll wake up and we'll realize that this thing that I thought I was, this body, this identity, all these relationships that I thought were me and my relationships, we'll realize that actually they had nothing to do with us, and that we're someone else, and we have different things to do. And then we can just get on with doing those things for Krishna. So yeah, so it's very bright because we're on the path to, rediscovering ourselves and waking up from the illusion. Because in the dream, sometimes you're having a nightmare, it's very fearful, right? And you can't get out of it. As long as you're in the nightmare, you're stuck in that fear. The only solution is to wake up, right? Like sometimes, if you're a parent and you see the child is having a nightmare and they're like tossing and turning, sometimes they're screaming or crying in their sleep or something, and you see they're very disturbed, even though they're still, so the mother goes, like, shake them, wake up, don't worry, it's just a nightmare, you just had a bad dream. Not really like that. So yeah, we need someone like that to come along, a pure devotee, to be like, wake up, you're not really suffering, you're not really this person, this situation is not really an issue for you, you're just dreaming, you're just attached to this false identity, this temporary identity, and you just need to wake up and understand who you really are. So, but it's a gradual process. It's just like even when you wake up, it's kind of like your alarm goes off and you kind of hear it, and then you just with the snooze button, right? This like that, and then back to sleep. And then maybe you start finally actually like opening your eyes, but it's like right? So that's also the process of waking up out of the nightmare of Maya. Yes, it can be a slow process. And sometimes we wake up a little bit and then we doze back into a deep sleep. So yeah. But we can ask, we can like ask Krishna, please wake me up from this illusory existence. Please help me to understand who I really am. Just do whatever you have to do to break this attachment to the bodily identity, because it's just making me suffer, causing me so much anxiety. Okay, any thoughts about that?
That means only prayers to Krishna and following the rules.
Yeah, that's it. There's nothing else we can do. We just have to try our best to like with as much faith and determination and surrender as we can to follow the process that Prabhupada's given us. And at the same time praying, like with a lot of feeling. Krishna, please, I don't want to be in Maya anymore. I'm just really done with this whole material experience. I don't want anything. I'm done with trying to enjoy this material world. And I want to get back to the shelter of your lotus feet and reawaken. I'm not interested in a relationship with anybody else. I just want a relationship with you, or, your representatives who can bring me to you, connect me with you, like that. Okay, let's go on then. Ahimsa. Yeah.
Ahimsa, non-violence, means that one should not do anything which will put others into misery or confusion. Material activities that are promised by so many politicians, socialists, philanthropists, etc., do not produce very good results because the politicians and philanthropists have no transcendental vision. They do not know what is actually beneficial for human society. Ahimsa means that people should be trained in such a way that the full utilization of the human body can be achieved. A human body is meant for spiritual realization. So, any movement or any commissions which do not further that end commit violence on the human body. That which furthers the future spiritual happiness of the people in general is called non-violence.
That's a really interesting definition, right? Non-violence means basically, if we say it probably says it in the positive way, but non-violence means training people to use the human body for self-realization. And anything else is violence. Like allowing people to remain in ignorance on the bodily concept of life, that's violence. And especially if we have knowledge, right? Prabhupada, we use the example that, like, if there's an epidemic of a disease in some village and people are dying, and then there's a doctor living in the village and he has the cure, and he doesn't give it. He's just sitting at home watching TV. And he knows he has the medicine. He knows people are dying, but he's just sitting there watching TV.
Yeah.
So that's violence, right? He's knowingly letting people suffer and die. So he could say, well, I didn't make them get sick. I didn't, hurt them. But it's the same thing. Whether you intentionally hurt someone or whether you intentionally don't do something that you can do to relieve their pain. It's the same thing. Right? So, yeah, so we have the medicine, right? The Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is the medicine. Lord Chaitanya said, Eneche Aushadhi Maya Nashi Bada Lagi Harinama Maha Mantra Lao Tumi Magi. So that this holy name is the Aushadhi, the medicine that can cure us of all this illusion. And yeah, Nashi Bada, that it can destroy our illusion, destroys Maya. So he's saying just even if you don't have a taste for it, even if you think it's bitter, don't worry about it, right? It's like if you have a really bad disease and somebody gives you a medicine that is a known cure, and you're just like, oh, I don't like the taste of it. I'm not having it. That's silly, right? That's like childish. So people are suffering and we're trying to give them the Maha Mantra. Like, I don't like chanting that. I prefer some other mantra. I prefer, I'll just sing my own music. I have my own, I have my own path. It's like, no, even if you don't like the Maha Mantra, just chant it, and gradually, the taste for it will come. Because the only reason we don't have a taste for the Maha Mantra is because jaundice, right? We're in a disease condition.
Yeah.
That's what Rupa Goswami says. He says the holy name is sweet, just like sugar candy. But a person who has the disease jaundice, it's a disease of the liver, that when you eat, even if you eat straight sugar, it tastes bitter. But then by drinking sugarcane juice, that's like a good medicine. It's a tonic for the liver that cures jaundice. So when you first drink that sugarcane juice, it's like, ugh, tastes really bad. It just tastes like bile or something in your system. But then as you go drinking it and your liver gets better, then gradually it becomes less bitter and it starts becoming sweeter. And then when it's fully tasting sweet, then you're cured. So the same way, beginning these processes of devotional service, waking up early in the morning, doing Mangalarti, chanting japa, Guru Puja, all these things, like, do I really have to do it? Why do I have to do this? I have so many other things I'd rather do, right? I'd rather sleep, sweet sleep. But yeah, it's bitter. But if we just do it, then it's going to cure us. And then after some time, we're going to be loving it. We get a taste because these are the activities of the soul. Okay, yeah, so non-violence means giving people the medicine that will cure them from the material disease, that will destroy the illusion that's causing their suffering. Okay, samatha.
Samatha. Equanimity refers to freedom from attachment and aversion. To be very much attached or to be very much detached is not the best. This material world should be accepted without attachment or aversion. That which is favorable or prosecuting Krishna consciousness should be accepted. That which is unfavorable should be rejected. That is called samatha, equanimity. A person in Krishna consciousness has nothing to reject and nothing to accept. Save in terms of its usefulness in the prosecution of Krishna consciousness.
You can go ahead and read the next one too. Tushti.
Tushti, satisfaction, means that one should not be eager to gather more and more material goods by unnecessary activity. One should be satisfied with whatever is obtained by the grace of the Supreme Lord. That is called satisfaction. Tapas means austerity or penance. There are many rules and regulations in the Vedas which apply here, like rising early in the morning and taking a bath. Sometimes it is very troublesome to rise early in the morning, but whatever voluntarily trouble one may suffer in this way is called penance. Similarly, there are prescriptions for fasting on certain days of the month. One may not be inclined to practice such fasting, but because of his determination to make advancement in the science of Krishna consciousness, he should accept such bodily troubles when they are recommended. However, one should not fast unnecessary or against Vedic injunctions. One should not fast for some political purpose. That is described in Bhagavad Gita as fasting in ignorance, and anything done in ignorance or passion does not lead to spiritual advancement. Everything done in the mode of goodness does advance one. However, and fasting done in terms of Vedic injunctions enriches one in spiritual knowledge.
Right. So here we have satisfaction and austerity. So satisfaction means living simple, right? Simple living, high thinking, Prabhupada would say. So we just accept whatever comes easily. Prabhupada says, just accept whatever, be satisfied with whatever is obtained by the grace of the Lord. So we don't have to work so hard for getting material things. should not be eager to gather more and more material goods by unnecessary activity. So that, again, that word unnecessary, that's kind of like a theme here, right? When it comes to acting in the material world, it's like, yeah, we have this body, we have, maybe our homes, maybe we have our families and things like that. So we have to do something, but just do the basics, just get the basics covered, and we don't need to live extravagantly, just keep it simple. And yeah, just because everybody's going to get their quota anyway, right? That's what it says in the Ishopanishad, that everybody should just accept their quota and not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong. And Prahlad Maharaj says in the Bhagavatam that everybody has their certain amount of happiness that they're going to get and a certain amount of distress that they're going to get, and that's already determined due to their karma from previous births. So when you are born into this world, your happiness and distress is already predestined, basically. So it's not like totally deterministic that, this is exactly, this is like, we still can have choices, and we still we choose how to act, and according to our activities we get consequences. We can avoid certain circumstances, but the thing is, it's going to come back to us in another way, right? Like if we have some karma that we have to experience a particular kind of suffering, then we see it coming, we can make a strategy to avoid it, but it's just going to come another way. Like ultimately it's going to come, because that's the laws of nature, and they're higher than us because that's Krishna's laws. Just like government law, it's like you're going to get caught and you can't do anything about it. So where's I going with that? Yeah, so there's no use working very hard to try to get material happiness, because whatever level of material happiness you're destined to experience, you're going to get that anyway. And so I would see that there are some people in this world that they'll work hard and they'll think, oh, if I just get more money, then I can be happy and comfortable, right? So they get a second job, and then they're working like, 12 hours a day, and they're getting more money, but they're still not any happier. Like, they may not be stressed about the bills anymore. They may not be like struggling to figure out how they're going to feed the family, but something else happens. Or the money comes, but then it gets stolen. Someone breaks in and steals their thing, or they get in a car crash and they have to pay out, or, something, So, yeah. And yeah, so since Prahlad's argument is that no one endeavors for unhappiness, but unhappiness just comes. So in the same way, we don't have to endeavor for happiness either. In the same way that distress comes by itself, happiness will also come by itself, exactly according to our karma. So, and just as losses come, gains come according to our karma. So we don't have to, break our heads and break our backsides trying to, do so much work. Just do something and depend on Krishna. Just do some little thing that doesn't take too much trouble, and that is according to your nature and talents and things. Just do that and live simply and be Krishna conscious, because Krishna consciousness is what's going to make us happy, right? That's what we were just saying. It's not money, it's not fame, it's not distinction, it's not relationships with mundane people or whatever, mundane relationships. Those things are never good. It's only Krishna consciousness. So that's our endeavor should be for that, right? Bhagavatam says one must endeavor for what is not obtainable, even by going from the highest planet to the lowest planet in this material world, right? So that means something that's beyond material sense gratification. We endeavor for that thing that is like beyond this material world. So that is spiritual realization, relationship with Krishna, pure devotional service, going back home, back to Godhead, right? That's what we should endeavor for. And then, of course, Krishna's going to give everything, because mundane master is going to provide for the basic needs of the servant, right? Like if you have some house servants in your home, and you see that, of course, the person's working for you all day. They're just like your live-in servant, right? In India, they have the servants like that live in the family home. They have their quarters. So obviously, if the servant gets sick and they need some medical care, the homeowner is going to take them to the doctor, call a doctor or something, right?
Yeah.
If the servant has some family problem, then the homeowners are going to help facilitate so that they can be peaceful and do the service. If they need a new pair of shoes, a homeowner's going to get the shoes, right? Like that. So in the same way, if even a mundane master takes care of the basic necessities of the servant so that they can go on serving, then what to speak of Krishna?
Yeah.
You know, he's so grateful, he's so appreciative, and he's all powerful. So if we just devote our lives to serving him, do you think that we're going to starve? That we're not going to have clothes to wear? That we're not going to have a roof over our heads? That we're not going to, have, the family relationships that we need to be stable and peaceful?
Yeah.
Everything's going to be there. And in the best possible way, better than we could arrange even if we devoted all of our time and energy to it. So, yeah, Krishna consciousness saves us from a lot of anxiety and struggle. Okay, then tapasya, yeah, we talked about that we may not like doing something, but if we do it anyway, because we know it's the right thing, because we know it's pleasing to Krishna, then taking some voluntary trouble, then Krishna becomes satisfied. He sees that we're really trying very hard to please him, even though it's difficult, and he reciprocates. So.
They all bring some kind of attachments or fear, like if we get laptop, or it will be lost, or someone steal it, or if something breaks up, then we have to again spend some money.
Yeah.
So all fears, and then when we die, a lot of attachments, my my this, my that. So that makes no sense.
Yeah. Yeah. In one sense, people who have night, they don't have to worry. They can walk down the street at any time. No one's gonna like mug them and beat them up and try to take the money because they clearly don't have any. It's like, yeah. And then as soon as you get something valuable, you're always like, someone's gonna steal it, someone's gonna break into my room. I have to lock the door, I have to have a security system. Can't go out at night or whatever, right? Okay, good.
How to just get rid of this desire to be respected? Because only thing which I like, people get money because in the society they want to be respected and powered.
Yeah.
But how to get rid of this feeling of being respected?
Yeah. Well, the thing is that's very much a symptom of Kali Yuga, right? When in the 12th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam says that when Sukadeva Goswami or Sutta Goswami, they're describing the symptoms of Kali Yuga, it says that a person will be respected if they have money. Because in previous ages, people would be respected for their character, right? They would be respected if they're an honest person, if they're religious, if they're self-controlled, if they have all these qualities, if they're kind and compassionate, if they have knowledge, if they have transcendental knowledge, if they're peaceful and equipoised, right? Those are the things that would make someone a community where people will respect us for our character. Yeah. And just, people who think that we're useless because we don't have money, just don't hang out with them. Right? Make friendship with people who appreciate us for the very things that we value. Yeah. And then you'll be respected. Okay. Charity. That's the next thing. Yeah, go ahead.
As far as charity is concerned, one should give 50% of his earnings to some good cause. And what is a good cause? It is that which is conducted in terms of Krishna consciousness. That is not only a good cause, but the best cause. Because Krishna is good, his cause is also good. Thus, charity should be given to a person who is engaged in Krishna consciousness. According to the Vedic literature, it is enjoined that charity should be given to the Brahmanas. This practice is still followed, although not very nicely in terms of the Vedic injunction. But still, the injunction is that charity should be given to the Brahmanas. Why? Because they are engaged in higher cultivation of spiritual knowledge. A Brahmana is supposed to devote his whole life to understanding Brahman. Brahma Jnanati Brahmanaha. One who knows Brahma is called Brahmana. Thus, charity is offered to the Brahmanas because they are always engaged in higher spiritual service and have no time to earn their livelihood. In the Vedic literature, charity is also to be awarded to one in the renounced order of life, the sannyasi. The sannyasi beg from door to door not for money but for missionary purposes. The system is that they go from door to door to awaken the householders from the slumber of ignorance because the householders are engaged in family affairs and have forgotten their actual purpose in life. Awakening their Krishna consciousness is the business of the sannyasis to go as beggars to the householders and encourage them to be Krishna conscious. As it is said in the Vedas, one should awake and achieve what is due him in his human form of life. This knowledge and method is distributed by the sannyasis. Hence, charity is to be given to the renouncers of life, to the brahmanas, and similar good causes, not to any whimsical cause. Yashas,
Yeah.
fame, should be according to Lord Chaitanya, once who said that a man is famous when he is known as a great devotee. That is real fame. If one has become a great man in Krishna consciousness and it is known, then he is truly famous. One who does not have such fame is infamous.
Okay, you can stop there for a second. So yeah, we talked about charity and we talked about fame and infamy. So yeah, charity. That Rupa Goswami said this thing that we need to give 50% of our earnings to some good cause, save 25% for emergency and 25% for like family needs, right? So then Prabhupada goes straight to it, that what should we give charity? Who should be the beneficiary of our beneficiary of charity? Should be Krishna conscious people. Should be some Krishna conscious cause, because Krishna is good, his cause is also good. Everybody wants to give to a good cause, and because Krishna is good, his cause is good. So giving to Krishna or people in Krishna consciousness or Brahmins, sannyasis, that's a good cause. And yeah, like I was saying, that because Krishna takes care of devotees, takes care of Brahmins, takes care of the sannyasis, they don't actually need charity, but the charity is for the benefit of the giver, right? Prabhupada mentions that the sannyasis beg door to door, not for money, but it's just an excuse to go knock on the door and talk to people and, remind them of the real goal of life, which is to make spiritual advancement. So, yeah. And we should give to people who are devoted to sharing spiritual knowledge with others. And then this addressed your question about fame, because you're saying people want to be respected. And Lord Chaitanya says that the real famous person is someone who's famous to be a great devotee, because it's so rare, right? Krishna says that Manushyanam Sahasreshu Kashchid Yatati Siddhaye. He says that out of many millions of people, one will endeavor for perfection. And even out of those who are trying for perfection and attaining perfection, even then one doesn't know him. It's rarely, just maybe one person actually knows him in truth. So it's the most rare thing, right? Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. Very, very rare, that great soul who comes to Krishna. So Prabhupada says, all these qualities are manifest throughout the universe in human society and in the society of demigods. There are many forms of humanity on other planets, and these qualities are there. Now, for one who wants to advance in Krishna consciousness, Krishna creates all these qualities but the person develops them himself from within. One who engages in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord develops all the good qualities as arranged by the Supreme Lord. Yeah, so by practicing Krishna consciousness, nobody joined, so I don't know if it was because,
Okay. Nobody joined today. So ideal time is like 40 minutes.
huh?
Ideal time is I think 40 minutes. So after 40 minutes, if no one joins, then it will end.
Oh, that's what happened.
Hmm. Is it 40 minutes or 50? I remember
It says
50.
51 now. But previously I had that happen that I was just I had started a Zoom meeting and everybody left and I stayed on doing AI companion and stuff.
Oh.
And then I got distracted by something else and then it just stopped after 40 minutes. It said that if it's inactive after 40 minutes.
Yeah, 40 or something like
But that's dumb because you know what I did when I saw that no one was there, I thought I'll just stream it. So then I
Yeah.
put live stream to YouTube.
Yeah.
So I thought it would keep going because it was streaming.
Yeah, it should do that.
Yeah,
If you are streaming, then
it didn't do it. I mean, I don't know what made it stop. That was weird.
you can stream this class on YouTube.
Yeah, I just thought about it today. Well, the YouTube class was 46 minutes. So it wasn't 40 minutes.
Yeah, 40. Then there are some specific time, ideal time.
I don't know what happened.
There used to be. If you have premium, then there.
I have premium. I should tell it to not cut off at 40 minutes. YouTube, wait.